tú o él? No lo sé. ¿Quién va primero?
En el programa para lo mismo, ¿eh?
Ah, pues nada, de puta madre, sí, fuera.
¿Quién va primero?
Perdona, el otro.
Así que estáis fresquitos y tal, ¿no?
No, JPMP. No, va él. No me sigue el programa, tío. Soy el puto organizador y no me sigue el programa. ¿Ponemos esto? Póntelo aquí, por ejemplo. Y esto en el bolsillo.
Está extendido ahora, ¿vale?
Vale.
Yo por el teléfono.
Vale.
Vale.
Okay, welcome back. So now we are having two talks related to a hot topic in research, but also of application for the industry, which are quantum technologies. And the first talk is given by Professor Juan Martínez Pastor from the University of Valencia, and it's entitled Novel Materials for Single Photon Quantum Emitters.
Thank you very much, Pascual. Okay, this talk is different from previous ones. This is more focused on research that is developed in the field of quantum optics, let's say, or in the future, or for the future, quantum integrated photonic circuit, maybe. For this, it's necessary to think that now there are not classical sources nor a classical detector, but okay, in principle you can use classical detector here as receivers. Here the photon processing would be different, of course, because it's necessary to manage quantum light. That we will be now what it means. And this is a picture for the future, of course, but there are, of course, many experiments regarding technology using quantum light. For example, here is an entangled light-emitting diode that is managed, whose light is managed in order to measure even quantum teleportation of photons. In this review, you can find several material that has been proven for single photon emitters, like color centers in diamond, defect in silicon carbide, zinc oxide, boron nitride, rare earth in YAG, quantum dots, where most of the future of quantum light has been measured, as you see here, but with the drawback that is measured at 4 Kelvin at low temperatures. Maybe for promising materials, for telecommunications wavelength, let's say 1.3, 1.5 microns, maybe carbon nanotubes, and also two-dimensional, this is transition metal dechalcogenides, but there are other two-dimensional semiconductors that can be used maybe in next future. As you see here, okay, even if a single photon has been demonstrated, not entangled photons, no indistinguishability, and many other features. But in this case, also, even at low temperature, but I will show you that also at room temperature has been obtained single photon emission. Okay, now we see some historical and physical aspects of quantum light. Of course, we can begin with Maxwell. Maxwell that deduced in his equations as a deduction that light is electromagnetic wave. This was a strong affirmation because he deduced the speed of light with the electrical and magnetic properties of the vacuum or other materials that were similar to those measured by other authors in the time. Of course, next step going into quantum is Planck and Einstein, where they propose that the energy of an electric oscillator is not only given to an electromagnetic wave in separate quanta, but also carried in separate quanta, that is in photons. The photon is a word that was placed in the field later, not in the time of this work of Einstein to explain photoelectric effect, for example. Even if at the time of Einstein, Bohr theory was not developed, and but can be explained also by the quantum nature of matter. Then in the 1920s, de Broglie established the light-matter duality, or wave-matter duality. That is the beginning of the quantum mechanics. Later, of course, it is necessary to mention again Einstein and Bose to develop the photon statistics and the EB coefficients of this related to the emission of light of matter. In concrete, the spontaneous non-stimulated emission, and later the Fock states, where we can develop, or we can write the radiation field as a quantum state, or quantum state as a function of, or represented in the Fock state representation, where the coefficients are giving us the photon number distribution. And this is important, of course, because this is telling us what is the difference between the different lights. There are three kinds of lights, as you know. Classical light is the thermal light, the black body radiation, and of course governed by the Bose-Einstein statistics. The coherent light, that is a Poisson, the statistic is Poissonian, where photons travel either alone or grouped. In the case of thermal, the photons travel grouped always. And the case that we will occupy now, quantum light, where photons travel alone, one by one. And the statistic is sub-Poissonian. In this case, the Fock state is 1. Is 1. Okay, with this in mind, we can define classical optics, where effects as reflection, refraction, dispersion, so on. The semi-classical optics, where we can use quantum theory of matter, but not necessarily quantum theory of light. We can use Maxwell still, like Compton effect, photoelectric effect, and quantum optics, even if the photoelectric effect was demonstrated by Einstein using the quantum nature of light. No? And quantum optics, of course, in this case, quantum theory for both matter and light should be used, as in the case of managing single and entangled photon and their nature. How to distinguish this light in measurements? This is, of course, the first the first question to solve, because normally when detecting light, we use a single detector, no? A detector, semiconductor detector, of course, photodiode, photoconductor, and so on. But in this case, we cannot distinguish between the three kinds of light, because only measuring the intensity. Of course, there are many other possible methods, but one of them, and the most useful, is using at least two detectors. This is the Hanbury, Brown and Twist interferometer experiment that was developed in the 60s for measuring the light coming from stars, astronomy. But what we will see that was applied some 40 years later to demonstrate single photon emission, because in this case we can see if measurements are done with thermal light, we see a second order correlation fusion regarding this, the measurement on these two detectors as a function of time, that is bunched, that is this second correlation fusion is greater than 1. Coherent light, where we measure always 1, this is because all photons are either grouped or not, and anti-budget. Anti-budget is the signature of single photon emission. Below, it is accepted that it is below 0.5, we can say that we are measuring quantum light. But a perfect single photon emitter is 0, okay? Absent of photodetection coincidence at the two detectors at single photon, at tau equals 0. We will see now this condition. Okay, and then now some seminal works in single photon emitters. The first ones were, as you see here, this one in '92. The first observation of photon anti-bunching that was carried out on some organic dye in solid state at low temperature. And okay, in this case, I underline the lifetime, or the time of the spontaneous emission, 100 nanoseconds, because this is important later for the use in many applications, of course. As slower is this spontaneous emission time, of course, less repetition rate we can use for telecommunication, for example. Near 8 years later, appear another solid state source, because of course something can be done on atoms, but atoms are difficult to be managed in a chip. Then it's for that people was looking for a solid state. No? The second, in this case, was the nitrogen vacancy centers in diamond, with a low number of these defects present in the diamond, whose lifetime are around 10 nanoseconds typically, below and above, depending on the case. And there are other centers, other electronic defects that can be used in diamond, or can be found in diamonds. Okay, this by many years was stopped, but was growing, the publication and studies, of course, studies in research, because we can find around 500 papers regarding single photon emission on these defects after 2010. Why? Because these are working at room temperature. In the case of, and the third kind of emitters are being based on quantum dots, solid state quantum dots that they are defined by a semiconductor, but a small piece of semiconductor. We have three-dimensional confinement of carriers, and we will see now the difference between these and atoms or defects, crystalline defects in materials. The case is that quantum dots, of course, there are a lot of research after the beginning, around 2,500 papers, and was mostly developed before that we have more data for this system. There were two papers by the same people, practically. One using colloidal quantum dots at room temperature, even. Now we can find some other paper using colloidal quantum dots, but there are some drawbacks, and it's for that people has been focused on MBE grown indium arsenide, gallium arsenide quantum dots, low density grown, and with the drawback, of course, that we must work at low temperature. And ideally, these quantum dots have an exciton lifetime around 3.4 nanoseconds or even below, and much below if we take into account the possibility to introduce the quantum dots into resonant cavities where we have parcel effect. Then this means that in the case of using quantum dots in resonant cavities, we can have repetition rates or use these materials for operation with high repetition rates in the range of 1 to 10 gigahertz. And the difference, as I was telling you, a real atom, also like defects, crystalline defects in solid state materials. Are electronic transition, is one electron decaying from the excited state to the ground state. whereas in the case of a quantum dot, we have electron and holes. Then we promote an electron from the valence band to the conduction band of the semiconductor, and then the emitting photon, we're recombining, we have these single photons in a piece of semiconductor, where we have three-dimensional confinement. For this, we have these discrete levels. The difference between the states, electronic states in a quantum dot from an atom, is that we have, for example, 4 kind of states in the ground state that can be identified as the neutral exciton, one electron hole pair, a trion, or 2 kind of trion, positive and negative, 2 electron and 1 hole, or vice versa, and the B exciton, where we have 2 electrons and 2 holes. The quantum dots are also a 2-level system that offers the opportunity to build deterministic device, because we can place also in a cavity well precisely in many cases. And we are able to produce entangled single but also entangled photons on demand by an external control. Of course, with application for quantum technologies like single and entangled photon source for telecommunication, but using properties as quantum teleportation or photonic qubits and logic operation, quantum logic gates for quantum computing also, but also most in the future, maybe more in the future, quantum sensing and quantum imaging. I will mention now some quantum dot achievement, like entangled photon emission. I will take only a spotting of this achievement. Like in this case is the group of Andrew Shields in Toshiba Research in Cambridge. They have been actively proposing and developing new activities in the field. They fabricated the first light-emitting diode for a single photon emission from a single quantum dot. Here you have the signature of exciton and B exciton, and the cascade of radiative decay of B exciton and exciton, that is depicted here. You can have a pair of photons that typically are in this cascade copolarized, either horizontal, vertical, or that is demonstrated by the second order correlation function in this horizontal and vertical vector, let's say, or directions, but also in the diagonal basis, diagonal polarization, or circular right or left polarization. In this case, they are crossed, not collinear, like in the case of linear polarization, because these are, of course, the 2-photon Bell state that takes into account both states. And they proposed also a measure of the fidelity to the Bell state based on correlation functions that were using this second order correlation. That is taking into account the photon statistics measurements. Okay? Then in this case, analyzing the photon statistics, we are able to manage quantum light. Otherwise, with a single detector, we cannot do practically anything. And only that this B exciton emission cascade that is producing entangled photons only in the case where the quantum dot has not spatial anisotropy, because otherwise there are a finer structure and the fidelity drops, as you see here. The fidelity to Bell state is meaning that we have a coherent state a coherent single photon state or coherent quantum light. Another nice achievement is the indistinguishability. Again, defined by the photon statistics. Okay, measuring the correlation function, and after we can deduce from this correlation the fidelity and also the indistinguishability. In this case, using resonant excitation of the B-exciton, where only the exciton is populated through the radiative cascade after recombination of the B-exciton, in this case. And also later, also in the group of shields, they measure the coherence by defining again a new based on this second order correlation function, the Bell's inequality, that is measured to be more than 717 standard deviation, where can be maintained up to 5 nanoseconds. Okay, it's not too much, but of course was a milestone in this field. Okay, and okay, now maybe I can give you some summary of our contribution to the field using indium arsenide quantum dots. The first one was single photon emission from pre-patterned quantum dots in a substrate, in a gallium arsenide substrate. You have here the quantum dots emitting at around 1 micron, where we observe the exciton, B-exciton, and of course they are single photon emitters, but again at low temperature. Another one more recent was by using a single quantum dot and pumping with 2 different wavelength lasers, we convert these coherent sources through the excitation of the quantum dot. We convert into a 2-color single photon emitter. And with this, we can do some logic operations, as explained here. For example, by using one of the lasers, we mainly create excitons, experimentally, and this is theoretically. Or with this other laser, we pump mainly impurities around the quantum dots, and we create trions, negative trions. And then when we have both lasers on, we are having the anti-bunching signature 0, whereas in the other case we have 1. This is a Z0 logic gate. No? And okay, the theoretical simulation were done by using a 9-coupled set of rate equations based on the ground state of the quantum dot, radiative and non-radiative, that are 1 electron, 2 electron, 1 hole, 2 holes, and the ground state. Sorry. We have been also using this same scheme, but using one of the laser pulsed, and in this case, maybe we can obtain a quantum switch, maybe. Finally, we switch into a telecom wavelength. In this case, we were working with indium arsenide or indium gallium arsenide quantum dots grown on indium gallium arsenide buffer layers, low density quantum dots, and we were able to observe single quantum dot emission in the entire range between 1 micron and 1.3 microns at low temperature, of course. But single photon experiments were not possible because we had a poor collection, or a number of photons collected by this or emitted by this system, and also because the available APDs. Then for the reason we tried to introduce in our system that was based on a spectrometer, instead of that using a tunable fiber Bragg grating as depicted here, like a filter in reflection. and spectral filtering reflection, and then with this we were able to improve the collection practically 2 orders of magnitude as compared to the monochromator. And more important, we can also define the line width of the filter more or less depending on the experiment we would like to develop. With this filtering and new APDs, indium arsenide APDs with low noise, we were able finally to obtain single photon demonstration on these quantum dots with an all-optical fiber Hanbury-Brown and twist interferometer, as is depicted here, where we use the filter and couple to it the beam splitter to the two sent to the 2 detectors, APD detectors. As you see here, we were selecting the emission of the exciton at 1.3 micron, and then developed the experiment, demonstrated anti-bunching that was limited, well, it's around 0.3, but is due to the noise of one of the detectors, and after correcting was practically 0, that is a perfect single emitter. And okay, more recently we were introducing in our setup for spectroscopy multi-core optical fibers, and this maybe in the future can be used also for HBT measurements on several quantum dots at the same time. We even developed a patent that using a CCD and a spatial modulator that convert the, let's say, space in time, we theoretically demonstrated that could be used. For the moment it's necessary to develop experimentally, but this setup could be used for either doing time resolved measurements, but also HBT measurements, and with using a high number of detectors regarding determined by the number of pixels in the CCD, and we can obtain directly the photon statistics with this method. Okay, and to finish, we revisit a little bit what the people are doing now regarding new material for producing quantum light. The first one, and most promising from my point of view, is the two-dimensional semiconductors. Two-dimensional semiconductor that the first work was demonstrated in 2015, only 2 years ago. Of course, under low temperature operation again, visible wavelength, but single photon with a good, practically 0 second order correlation function, and of course also a low emission, spontaneous emission times. No? Here you have also the future. In this case, are associated to crystalline defects in these two-dimensional nanosheets, as you see here, and in this sense are not quantum dots, are like atoms, electronic transitions. They are localized emitters as compared to the emission of the material, and they are single photon emitters. For the moment, it's only demonstrated single photon emission. In this case, is instead of electronic defects in the material, there are also the possibility to create a local strain or local strain zones in the, as depicted here, a nanosheet placed on a patterned series of pillars, nanopillars, and then this strain is inducing a strong exciton localization. They are practically near, let's say, quantum dots in this case, and this is due because of the strong exciton binding energy, and they emit again, single photons, as you see here, very well precise discrete transitions, and the second order correlation function is practically zero. Then good emitters with low lifetime, but of course the drawback of low T operation. In this world is similar, again, like nanopillars, the nanosheet of one monolayer of tungsten dicyanide, as in the other case, and this is the local strain, and then in some cases is pierced, the nanosheet, in other cases not. And then in these cases you can obtain single emission or a discrete emission of light, and they are single photon emitters again. In this case they measure a lifetime in the range between 3 and 8 nanoseconds. But here again there are another most recent effect paper, but in this case with another material. This is hexagonal boron nitride, where the defects, electronic defects, are created by radiation with electron or ion plus annealing. They have published, the group of Englund, they have published 2-3 papers on this, 3 papers at least. And in this case, the emission, the single photon emission, as observed here, also with small lifetime, is developed at room temperature in this case. And the most important is that these two-dimensional materials, of course, like they are nanosheet, as shown here, you can deposit, you can integrate in many kind of substrate and platforms for example, combining with some integrated photonics. And of course, there are plenty of room to develop the experiments here. Of course, people are doing this, and can be also integrated with microcavities, photonic crystal microcavities, for example, microdisc, or even micropillars, nanopillars, in order to amplify the emission and hence to reduce the lifetime. And okay, finally, another material is other kind of nanoparticles, highly efficient, practically up to 100% of quantum efficiency. Let's say one absorbed photon, they turn as one photon. This is the perovskites material, as shown here, from cesium lead bromide to cesium lead iodide, but in this case they are emitting at visible wavelength, but in some cases we can obtain single photon emission at room temperature. And they are also promising because, of course, you can use as in colloidal quantum dots, but in this case more bright than in colloidal quantum dots, to be solution processed and hence, of course, integrable in many platforms. And thank you for your attention. And my thanks to the people working in my group, Guillermo Muñoz Matutano, that now he's working on two-dimensional and similar, but obtaining, instead of quantum dot for single photon emission, obtaining new kind of quantum polaritonics, and people from here, from the ITEAM, Professor Salva Sales, people that grow samples. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Juan, for your presentation. Now there's time for questions.
All people knows quantum
very well.
Quantum light very well. But it's the future for quantum telecommunications.
Yeah.
So thanks for your nice and very educative
Well,
presentation.
more or less educative.
So
Thank
my
you.
question is, you saw another group apart from Miguel Hernandez, Valencia, and UPV. Is these people growing the quantum dots, or did you have any capabilities in Valencia
No.
for doing that?
This is the growers. We have at the time we had two collaboration in Madrid, the Institute of Microelectronics that they were growing by MBE quantum dots also, and people from Italy. Yes, the last most of the experiment we developed were on with these people. We are developing two-dimensional. Now we are beginning with also this kind of experiment for single photon using two-dimensional semiconductors that we can obtain like graphene by mechanical exfoliation. And also we are growing or chemically synthesizing perovskites and quantum dots. In this case,
Thank you.
more simple.
Yeah, I have a question related to the quantum dots that you mentioned, that they were microstructures. Microstructured. Can you give some more details on it? I mean, they were just growth, but you mentioned that they were microstructures. Was some patterning done on them, or?
Where? Here?
Yeah, well, at the very beginning of the talk.
The very beginning.
Yes, when you said these are the quantum dots and they were microstructures.
Microresonator, let's say, no? Or
Well, in any case, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Well, I cannot see it.
one moment. This one?
No sé si está más para adelante o más para atrás.
No, más para atrás no.
Ahí no, ¿verdad? No. Ya que era una que tenía colorines. Here. Here, you mentioned that these were microstructured. Can
Microstructure? No, patterner.
no? Patterned, sorry.
Patterner substrate.
So
Because
what type of
integrated
patterning?
can be, let's say, to deterministically, we can place on the center of a two-dimensional photonic crystal microcavity,
Okay.
for example. That was the idea. Never achieved
Okay.
because they had problems. They developed it, but finally, from the growth, the technological point of view was practically impossible to have good microcavities with these quantum dots.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Then, which is your prediction about the best material platform for a single quantum emission? What do you think in the future?
With quantum dots, of course, has been demonstrated many of the possible future application in this world, no? For telecom, let's say. The drawback, of course, is low temperature. Maybe no more than 70 Kelvin, no? Working, because at room temperature, the dephasing times are quite important, then you lose practically all the quantum information. But of course, this knowledge can be translated into new materials that maybe, as I mentioned, the two-dimensional semiconductors, where we can produce either exciton localization, like quantum dots, let's say, equivalent more or less to quantum dots, or crystalline defects that they are practically like atoms, no? In this case, it's more difficult to have entanglement emission, but maybe entanglement can produce by other non-linear possible combination between the two-dimensional semiconductor and an operation by combining with other material. Carbon nanotubes maybe is also possible. It's integrable, no? All of this material can be integrated even in silicon platforms or silicon nitride platform for, let's say, for the photonics, for the passive photonics. And then this is my guess or my evolution in the field, using two-dimensional material in my case. But I know that there are possibilities that maybe some groups are dominating how to manage the carbon nanotubes, and in this case, semiconductor carbon nanotubes emitting at 1.3, 1.5 micron, and maybe for telecom wavelength is possible. For many other applications using semiconductor quantum dots, two-dimensional semiconductors, maybe it's possible to work, but at the moment, no for telecom wavelength, only for visible wavelength.
Okay, let's thank the speaker again. Thank you. So next speaker is Carlos Avellan, from QS.